Chizi, young Kenyan, interesting times, elections in the offing. Thoughts, please.
Well, it's interesting. Well, first of all, it's an exciting time, I have to say, because political processes are exciting by just in nature. The passions are interesting. Everybody's very excited. So interesting times. Am I excited about the future? Yes. I wish these elections had come earlier. That's my personal thoughts. I thought there was a bit of a delay. I wish it had come earlier because I would have sorted this out and moved on. But I'm glad that they're happening. And that
you said you're into an inter-ethnic, inter-tribal, inter-community marriage.
Yes.
For your generation, this word tribalism, ethnicity, communitism doesn't exist. It's being foisted upon you by somebody, but it isn't part of your everyday life.
Yeah, well, there's always two ways to look at things. And even with that, yes, it doesn't exist because we've grown up in classrooms where you sat next to a guy called Harpinda and another guy called Masharia and another guy. I mean, there's all sorts. We were a good mix in class from primary school there to university. But tribalism is not taught in classrooms. It's taught at home. And so people do...
You're convinced of that?
Yeah, it's parents that do it.
Yes.
They've got to accept it.
Yes.
They teach it in their living rooms.
Right.
So,
including your own?
Including, I think everybody's carrying their own measure of guilt in this thing.
Yes.
Including my own. Maybe the one saving grace is I've got very interesting parents, very open-minded people, and who have had in their own lives very interesting journeys. So in our house, it was actually very little. When it did show up, it was maybe aunts or uncles or extended family.
Right. So you're suggesting that as a young person, your expectation is that everything is going to run super smoothly and we're going to have a new constitution, brand new leaders, and the future is going to be wonderful.
Well, that's my dream. But the reality, I think it would be less smooth. There has to be a bit of friction. There's going to be a bit of inertia. I mean, when you come to think of it, elections are sometimes about ideals, yes, but most times they're just about resources and people wrestling to have control of the resources. So if you've got control now and somebody's going to beat you to it, there's inertia. There's going to be a bit of a fight back. And so
but there's this statistic that we always hear that such a huge percentage of our population,
68%.
68% is under
35.
Under 35. So shouldn't we have a 35-year-old president? And there isn't a 35-year-old candidate, or is there?
I don't think, well, there was, but no. I don't know, she fell off the wagon somewhere.
Mm.
Well, I think this is, it's, maybe I'm a bit of a, naysayer, or I don't know, but my thinking is this: it's always about resources. And for as long as there isn't a war in history that's been fought about ideals, well, not to my knowledge. It's always been about resources. And elections are the same thing. People that control the resources are going to do it. So we are going to be voting basically based on who we think is going to give us the bigger share of resources. And that's it. You can clothe that however you want to clothe it. It can be, this is a reformer, or this is my tribesman, or this is, you can give it whatever you want to, whatever clothes you want to give it. But you're going to vote basically based on your wallet.
Right. So this is a terrible sort of hypothesis for the have-nots, because they have no resources and nobody's been, for the great mass of the Kenyan people, according to your equation, there's no hope for them.
No, it still holds.
They're doomed because, the people with resources are basically rich, I would assume.
No, what I'm trying to say is you're going to vote what's in your best interest. What you feel is in your best interest for your bottom line.
Right.
So if candidate A is, in your opinion, is going to get you to move from your slum to Lavington, you're going to vote for that guy.
Right.
And that's what it's about. That's what I mean when I say it's about resource. I mean, and that's why right now you'll see the politicians for the last 4 years, they speak in English and they speak very well in English. But now they're all going to speak in Kiswahili.
Right, to draw Wanjiko.
To try and make the case that I'm the guy who's gonna dig you a well and a borehole in your hometown, and I'm gonna sort you out. And
So I mean, when you, I'm still pursuing this because you're obviously a political scientist in your spare time. When you've heard about all these sort of groupings, the coalitions, the various pacts, you've seen this as tying in with your equation about resources?
of course, it's very clear. I mean, first of all, and Kenya is no different. This is the same thing that, in my opinion, this is the same thing that happens all over the world. Russia, America, it's the same thing. People are trying to control resources of a country, that's it. And they're going to do whatever mathematics, whatever gerrymandering they need to do to get in. And even with these coalitions, it's the same thing. Somebody looks at it and says, what's my best ticket to win this thing? If I go with these guys, do they look like they've amassed enough so that we are in and I get a share of that? Nobody wants to be on the losing side.
Right, okay, and amidst all this, Dan Chizi Aceda is a creative person, is an artist. Could you evince a similar equation as to what motivates you, the artist? I mean, all artists are trying to do what? When you sing your song, when you build your building, what's your constituency?
Well, yes, very much the same. There are, well, several schools of thought, I guess I would say. First is the Freudian one. You know, Freud said, everyone knows that. But then there's the 21st century.
Yes.
There's the other philosopher, 21st century philosopher, who's a hip-hop musician, who said 1 for the money, 2 for the show,
Yes.
3 for the ladies, and
Right.
here we go.
Right. So
that was his way of thinking. And I
Yes.
think to some extent, if you extrapolate it,
Yes.
you know, the first reason people get into art is for the money. And the second...
surely not, because it's an area of activity where there's not a lot of money to be made by apart from the few superstars who make their millions. Otherwise, every parent would be encouraging their child to become a musician. And Dan Chizi Aceda would not just be an architect, he'd go for the money that's in music.
No, but I mean,
It's meant to be very precarious.
that's not true. There is money. In music, art, architecture, law, I can speak as having been in both industries. It's the same. You're not going to make money because you're an architect. You're going to make money because you work hard. And the same way, you're not going to make money because you're just a musician. You're going to make money because you work hard. The hardest working musicians make money.
And the hardest working architects make money.
It's the same all over the world.
Right.
The hardest working waiter, the hardest working, he's going to make money.
So your message is hard work is the path to success in every field.
That's just it. That's what I think. I mean, look at biggest musicians in Africa, biggest musicians in Kenya, biggest musicians in the world. If you were to say Jay-Z, for instance, biggest musicians, one of the biggest musicians in the world, his first song was released in 1989. But his first hit song came in 1999.
10 years later.
2001.
Right.
So what was he doing in between here?
Right, yeah.
He was still Jay-Z, but he was doing his time and working very hard.
Right.
Even in Kenya, I mean, we've got the biggest musicians today. They're guys who've been working hard and being consistent and churning out music and working hard and growing their names.
Right.
There's no automatic. The story of Mr. James Mwangi and Equity Bank
Yes.
and his 1986 beginnings,
Yes.
talking to tea farmers and all this, and the bank today.
Right, so that's proof. Okay, on a final prong, we're going to talk about brand Dan Aceda, brand Chizi. The future for you then? Because you're working hard, obviously, I've gathered that. Working hard towards what?
I'm trying to work hard. Well, one of the things that I've always wanted to do, I'm getting to do now, was to set up a little studio where we could do music. So we just set that up now and enjoying ourselves, begin to do the music. And now, because we're transitioning from being Chizi into now Dan Aceda, who is this more complicated person who can do art, who can do architecture, music, theater, and write, or whatever else I want to do in life. So next year I'll be shifting the brand between the course of the next actually 2-3 years. We'll be shifting the
You're
brand.
switching from we to I, will be shifting. So in other words, there's somebody who's guiding you in this process.
Yes.
There's some sort of background players.
Yes.
And you're talking to the wide audience to encourage people in one 60-second contribution. What would you encourage the young? What structures would you like to have them have in place if they wanted to be you? And what are the kind of people you should seek to have around you, apart from a loving wife, whom we've gathered you have?
Yeah, that's very useful. Well, first of all, I think people need to go to school. I don't agree at all that you should quit school to do music. I don't agree. I think you need to go to school because there's nothing as useless to the world as an uneducated musician. We don't need that. If you're going to be a good mirror for the society, you need to be able to analyze. You need to have the skills. You need to have a worldview. Go to school, get those things. Whatever school, some kind of school, go to it because it gives you a worldview and a method of analysis. So you understand how to look at things. Then after that, then you need to have a level head, in my opinion, because there's a lot of passing fads, there's a lot of money flying around in the industry even today. Don't be cheated, there's a lot of money flying around and there's a lot of different interests. And you need to have a level head. So if you do have somebody around you who you can be honest with, and you can bounce off ideas, it'd be even more use. And there's no substitute to hard work.
Dan Chizi Aceda, thank you very much.
It was a great pleasure to be here. Maisha yatayumba yumba kama upe